Have you been to the museum?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to sunny Holmfirth. My name's Colin. I'm going to take you around, show you where they did some of the filming of Last of Summer Wine. I'll also be telling you a little bit of history of the place as we're going around. I'll be telling you about the floods that we've had. Over the last 400 years, we've had some really bad floods in Holmfirth. The worst one was in 1852, when the reservoir up on the moors burst and flooded the valley. It killed a total of 81 people. And then in 1944 we had a cloud burst which killed 3. Now if you look over to the right across the road on the parade of shops, on the end shop, can you see the stone plaque built into the wall? It's on the corner, just below that row of flags. That shows the height of the floodwaters when the reservoir burst. This road leads on to Nora. It used to be the main road through the town at one time. It was a toll road. It actually went behind these shops on the left, back at Moss and Cartons. This little lane on the left was one of the first opening scenes of Summer Wine. It showed the 3 of them walking down there. Nora on the row of cottages in front of us, just to the right. It's the one with the blue door. And when they came filming here, they had to take all the signs down. They actually filmed off a platform. You don't normally see that first lot of steps.
Oh yeah. She can sweep and shot.
Looking up to the right, amongst the trees at the top, you can see the tower of the church. That's where below it's buried, Compo.
That's where below it's buried.
And also Peter Salas who played trumpet.
Peter Salas is a very museum.
Filming Last of the Summer Wine originated in 1972 when the BBC commissioned a one-off play for TV's Comedy Playhouse, which was shown in January of 1973. That play was so successful that they turned it into the series Last of the Summer Wine. The series ran until August 2010. After 37 years of filming, it makes it the longest running comedy series in the world. It was the broadcaster Barry Tuck who persuaded the production team to do the filming in Holmfirth, as he had recently done a TV programme about the Bamford Saucy seaside postcards that were produced here in Holmfirth and the working men's clubs in the north of England, and he saw how beautiful it was around Holmfirth. This next village we come to is called Hinchliffe Mill. It's where they filmed Edie's cottage, Wesley's garage and Edie's sister Rosa's cottage. She always wears pink in the programme. I'm afraid we won't be seeing Wesley's garage, as it was taken away after the death of Gordon Warmby, who played Wesley, but I will show you where it was.
House on the right, you'll see steps going up to the doors. They've got railings round. The second lot along is where they filmed Rosa's cottage, as Edie's sister Ros, played by Nora, just here on the right. It's over to the left behind these trees where Wesley's garage was. Of course, in the programme you don't see these trees. They've grown since the last film. That's actually a mill down there. Edie's cottage is just across the river in front of us. It's the one with a little porch in the middle of the road. Number 4, this one with the glass panelled door. This is where she made Wesley walk on newspaper.
Walk on newspaper.
Well, all the ladies were sat around having a cups of tea and fighting over the last green book.
Looking down to the left, you can see some of the 5-storey buildings, and you can imagine that torrent of water hurtling down the valley reservoir burst. The fields at either side of us were used for doing some of the stunt work. They did that scene here where Compo and the boys were skiing downhill and they had breakfast trays tied to their feet. They once did a scene where Howard was on the roof of his house, trying to escape from Pearl, no doubt, when Clegg and pals came across the ladder and moved it, leaving Howard stranded on the roof. Well, Howard's house is 4 miles away from here. The roof where they actually filmed them is the one to the left in front of us, the lower one of the 2 cottages. When you see Howard's house, you'll realise why they filmed it here. Follow it up in the new year with a new series. Up to the right on that hillside, that's where you would have found the 3 of them, laid in the heather sunbathing. And it's up there where the little quarry is that you often saw them walking around. Just coming up here on the left is one of the many lanes that they used in this area for filming. But this one in particular you will see in nearly every episode, with the 3 of them walking down there. And that's where you got Howard and Marina over at Wall having a cuddle. Looking over to the right across the valley, you can see the reservoir that burst. Just above those red bricked houses, if you follow the trees up into the hills. Beyond that is Saddleworth Moor, and that's where the Moors murderers, Brady and Hindley, buried the children. We're about 1,000 foot above sea level. We're only 1,800 foot below the flight path for Manchester Airport. That explains the tyre marks on the roof. Looking over to the right across the valley, about halfway up the hillside, you can see some stone-built houses on a housing estate. That's where Barry and Glenda lived in the programme. But on this road they would do the scenes with the motor vehicles. This is where you might have got Wesley in his Land Rover, or Edie in a car, crunching the gears and blaming Wesley for moving them. This is where you might have found the 2 bobbies sat in their police car.
Now if you look through this gate on the right, this first house with the glass porch is Foggy's.
Oh, Foggy's house.
On this road they do the scenes with Howard and Marina on the push bikes. You may recall one episode where they joined a cycling club for a bit of cover from Pearl. Well, all the cyclists came down this little track on the left and crashed in a heap of road here. In a more recent episode it showed Howard and Marina coming out at fields on the push bikes down this track here. About this point they came across a double-decker bus and the road alongside it, but unbeknown to them, Pearl was on the top deck watching them. In the last series of Summer Wine, in one episode, the 2 bobbies blew the police car up. What happened was they got a chip fryer in the car. They fancied a bag of chips while they were on duty. They plugged the machine into the car's dashboard and it blew the car up. This is where it was filmed, by this bench.
On the bench.
And of course this is a bench that you often saw Compo and them sat on, looking over the valley. Billowing up Lake Compo often said how much he liked Holmfirth and how he'd like to live here. Well, he got his dying wish by being buried here. But Bill was actually born and brought up in London, and he still lived in London up to his death. Though a lot of people thought he was a Yorkshireman, they thought he lived in Holmfirth. He didn't. What he did when they were here filming, he used to rent a house. That house is just on the hillside in front of us, just behind the tall chimney. Now, although Bill was classed as the star of the show, he very nearly didn't get the job, because in the early days, when they were casting for it, Roy Clark didn't think he'd be able to master the Yorkshire dialect. He soon proved him wrong. They did quite a lot of filming in this little garden on the right. Those bushes at the back is where you'd find the three of them appearing from. It's where you'd find Howard and Marina disappearing too. Where those steps are on the right is where you would find Entwistle Park in his little red truck. Quite often in the programme you saw the three of them waiting to catch a bus. More often than not, those scenes would have been filmed on this road. They would hire a normal service bus, but bring their own bus stop with them. Looking over to the left on that hillside, they did a lot of filming up there. They did that scene where Barry got carried away on a giant kite, and the one where the hot air balloon, shaped like a big fat lady, came up from behind the brow of the hill. Now in one episode, Auntie Wainwright bought some coffins at an auction, and the boys made a trolley out of one of them, but at some point of the day it ran away from them. Well, if you look on that hill to the left, about halfway up it, just above the trees, you can see a lane going across at an angle. That's where Howard and Marina were walking when the runaway coffin came flying down the hill and nearly ran them over. Just beyond the brow of that hill lives the international show jumper, John Whittaker. Looking to the left, down in the bottom, you can see a pretty little church. This is a church where Barry and Glenda got married in the episode Uncle of the Bride. It also featured in the Millennium Special episode called Last Post and Pigeon, when Dora Bryan first came into the series. Below who played Compo often did his own stunts until the latter end. One of his more memorable stunts was in an episode called Stop That Bath, when he was running away downhill in a bathtub. This is when it was filmed.
So this is where Barry and Glenda were married. The cottages of Howard and Pearl and Clegg are behind the pub up on the hillside there.
Oh, yes, I see them.
As you go around the next corner, if you look down to the left, you'll get a good view of the front of the pub and the cottages.
Oh, good.
Clegg's is the one with the cream-coloured door in the middle of the road. Howard and Pearl's to the right of it.
Oh, yeah.
Now you will notice there are 3-storey weavers' cottages. You don't normally see the top floor of the programme. Very rare do they show that. And of course you can see now why when they filmed Howard sat on the roof, they chose that smaller cottage. Well, weavers' cottages, they have lots of narrow windows close together. That was to let maximum light in when they were doing the handloom weaving upstairs. But when Clegg comes out of his door and turns left, he walks on that lane. He ends up at Nora Batty's, 4 miles away. When you see the pub on telly, you don't realise there's a road in front of it. When they used to film Compo on them, sat outside at the tables, they actually filmed them across the road in the car park. Made it look like what big you had in front.
Here on the right is the garden centre where Tom Owen had his allotment with the garden shed on that he lived in. with his pet dog Waldorf. And this is where the repo man was always chasing after him for money. On to the right is the co-op, where Marina used to work behind the till, passing love messages to Howard. At the far end of the co-op car park in the bottom is a small Methodist chapel. That's the building they used for the library in the programme.
You can just see it through the trees.